You ready to see what we got today? Check it out. We got the fuel pump access door from Send. It's all laser cut out of stainless. So what we did was we laser cut the flange that's welded to the floor. This is the cross member that's underneath. That's part of our kit that we're going to sell. And then you have to cut that notch in there. But then it's got two layers here. So it's got the main lid, which is just flat, and then just a detail on top. And those two pieces of stainless are bonded together, and then it uses 1032 screws all the way around to seal it off. So basically that's going to make it really easy to access the fuel pump on a stock style Barracuda gas tank. Okay, so if you guys want to run a stock gas tank, that's the ticket right there. Speaking of cross member in the back, we've got one more piece of the puzzle that we have not shown you guys yet that we're going to show you on the computer for the underside for the rear sway bar mount. Let's lift the car and check it out. So we did end up putting a rear sway bar on this car, and we've designed our kit to have a custom cross member that goes across here. We'll show you in the computer here in a minute. The parts have been ordered, they're on the way. They're gonna be a perfect fit for the bottom side of this car. So this is the bottom of the car, 3D scan that we did. This is our mid frame stiffeners. So those are all designed to fit the scan. You can see how nice they fit along the floor right there. This is showing as all one piece right now, but actually that gets split right there. It's just too hard to fabricate that all in one piece. So, and that gives the user, the buyer, the option to just buy this section or that section separately. The rear sections, you can see 3 pieces. The red is the long outer one, and the discrepancies you see here, that's just because the car's a little crooked, and but basically when you put these plates on, it'll help you straighten it out. Yeah, you have to get rid of that bump stop. We're going to add a new bump stop. This is the bottom plate. That one has to be formed by the user. That one just comes flat. You have to shape it. The sides will be cut to the proper curve, and then the inner frame is cut to the proper curve. And now here's the new one right here. So anyways, this blue one is the 10 gauge cross member. As you can see, it comes all the way over and touches the green. That'll get a weld right there. When you put this in your car, you need to weld that. And then you weld this to the floor right here and right here. And then there'll be some plug welds here. These circles are plug welds. All of those circles plug weld to the factory floor right on top of those ribs, so it's really strong. And then this back edge will come back and meet the other cross member, the spring mount cross member that's not on this right now. And it ties it all in and makes that back section of the car really stout. So that's gonna make this car handle really well. All right, we got the car all blown apart now. We're done engineering our suspension. We've done some upgrades on the front suspension. We've got the sway bar in the rear. Yesterday, me and the guys blew it all apart, took all the parts, bagged and tagged them, put them on the shelf. And so next, we're gonna put the car back on the rotisserie, because the sandblaster's coming next week to blast the bottom. And so then the next thing we gotta do is protect some of the car, like the doors, interior, the door panels, headliner, things like that, so that the sand doesn't mess everything up. So we're probably even gonna take the dash out for that same reason, so we don't have to clean everything. So let's get it on the rotisserie. So this is designed to bolt up to the back right here. So I guess we'll do that first, and then I've got some extensions that go on the front of the rotisserie that we gotta bolt on. All right, what I'm gonna do this time, I'm gonna make some marks on the rotisserie that say Barracuda A body. So, because we're planning on doing more of these, I'm gonna put an arrow, A body Mopar. I'll set this one, then we'll go get the front one set, and I'll mark it up there as well. That way we don't have to figure it all out over and over and over again. That's gonna be really close right there, just so you know. Okay, that should be pretty close. So we're gonna go ahead and start lowering it down. We're gonna take these bolts out, put those back last time. Pretty close. Here, see if you can get 2 bolts. Should be the upper inward one and the lower outer one, I think. So these are some frame horn extensions that we made to adapt So we try not to modify the body at all when we hook up the rotisserie. So we try and find like a bumper bracket or frame mounting holes or something like that that we can bolt a flange to. And then we build off of that flange and adapt it to the rotisserie. So these are some that we made a while back. I'm just kind of getting these started. I got this loose, this is loose. I'm gonna have to raise the car up again here in a minute. So these are the original bumper brackets. I don't know if I said that already. All right, we'll zip those down with the impact. Then we can tighten that up, and then we're gonna re-weld this to this. Those are tight. We got minimal clearance to the bumper there, but that's okay as long as it doesn't touch. Only bad thing about this is we set it up too close to the bumper, so you can't open the deck lid now. So in the future, we'll probably adjust that because that's really a pain. Okay, here we go. You ready? Okay, as soon as he gets ready. Oh, there you are. You're not helping? Come on. All right, just slow it down. We're going that way. You got your pin out, Colin? No. I got mine out. You pulling on it? Yeah, he's pulling it. What's the hold up? Are you pulling on the right pin? All right, go. Let's go. I can't remember why there's stuff falling around in there. Just go to that next notch right there, the next notch. You got your pin? You got your pin? Put your pin in. You in? Are you in? Under his camera? All right, yeah, check that one. Hit it in, hit it in, hit it in. There you go, that's good. All right, so there's a few things we gotta tidy up here on the bottom before we can get the blaster involved. Sandblast guy's coming next Thursday. Today is Friday, so we got plenty of time, I think, to get all this done. Most of the welding has been done already on our frame connectors here. So this is gonna be part of the kit that we offer. These are 12 gauge steel, laser cut, CNC bent, and they're designed to fit the contour of this floor based off of our 3D scan. So there's very minimal fab work required, just a little bit of grinding here and there to fit them a little bit tighter. And then those are welded to the floor the whole way. So if you want to weld these to your floor, well, you have to weld them to your floor, but if you want to run the midsection frame stiffeners, you have to take your carpet out and everything and weld it to the floor, but you do not have to cut your floor. So the rear frame sections here, they seamlessly tie into the midsection right here. These require a little bit more skill and fab work on the user's end. So basically these pieces are a little bit big and you have to grind them to fit. So what we did was we fit one side, ground it, fit this side, tacked it in place and ground it, and then fit the other side, tack it and grind it. And then you fully weld it a little bit at a time. We fully corner welded this whole thing just like you would a full frame rail. These are all 10 gauge, front, bottom, and side. All sides of that is 10 gauge steel. And then you weld it into the corners here. Actually this corner isn't welded, this one's bent. And then this plate plug welds to the original leaf spring mount, which makes it really strong. And then this inner one extends past the rear leaf spring mount and basically connects it all the way to the back pan to make it as rigid as possible. So that will be available with, that will come with the rear cross member, which is right here. This was our first iteration. Basically the final part's gonna be much nicer. So you can take that out, and then this has a flange that gets welded on there. It's all laser cut. This is CNC bent, has holes in here for plug welding, so we have to come around and finish plug welding those holes. that plug welds to your existing sheet metal. Now what we did through that section, this was the only section of the whole car that had rusty rot all the way through. So we just decided to cut that section out, and we substituted our new 10 gauge thick cross member as the floor. So it's plenty strong to serve its purpose as the floor and the frame at the same time, because it's unibody. Now this will get fully welded around here to the frame rails on both sides, and so basically it's turning into a chassis that's basically bonded to the rest of the car, if you want to look at it that way. Now there's one more piece on here that's not currently on here that we just finished designing. It's the rear sway bar mount cross member. So it's in the mail, it's been ordered, it's laser cut, CNC bent, and we fit it all to the scan of the floor. So basically it puzzles around all these contours of the stock A-body Mopar floor, and it plug welds to these ribs, and it plug welds to the existing floor, and then there's some perimeter welding, and then it'll also tie into the sides of the frame rails, so it'll be really strong side to side. And then that'll have two laser cut brackets that are tabbed and slotted, so you can't get them wrong. They only go one way. And then those will be in place for the bolt-in sway bar. So all this stuff has been figured out for the track width, the wheelbase, Ford 9-inch, RideTech coilovers, spline sway bar front and rear, fuel access door, and all of that works with a stock style gas tank if you so choose to do so. If you want to eliminate the spare tire hump, which we didn't on this one, you could go with a more economical or a bigger capacity gas tank. You could get the gas tank thinner, you could get it further away from the rear end for exhaust if you want. But on this one, it was so clean, we decided to just keep it, and we wanted to be able to design this stuff around a stock gas tank. So we got a few other things to weld up on here. The back is, for the most part, it's done. We've attached the triangulated 4-link brackets to the frame rails. They're just tacked in place right now. Those need to get fully TIG welded this week. We've got a few little gouges here that we got to clean up. We'll fully weld this bracket. We've got the exhaust hangers on there now that we got to fully weld. Let's see. Oh, there is a few little tabs here. So the original brake line mounting bracket, we're no longer using that. It's right in the way, so you have to get rid of that. So we've just rough cut it off there, but we got to grind these tabs off of there just to clean up the floor. We got to get rid of this little threaded bung here. We're keeping the seat belt washers. Those are welded to the floor already. Let's see, there's a couple of things here. This is the original e-brake cable pad. We might get rid of that just because we're not going to use it. All right, now look at this. So right up here, we've done some notches. We cut the original torsion bar parts out that had a hex indicator in there where the torsion bar would go in there. We cut those out, and it became the perfect place to route our 2.5-inch stainless exhaust. These are 1/4-inch pipe that have been welded in there. So we just got a little bit of final welding to do on there. These front frame horns, we're gonna fill up these holes on the inside because we're gonna end up painting this all the way up to here. We've got a few little tack welds that we gotta grind down. We gotta do some final welding on our front spring notch. So this will give you a good glimpse of what the spring notch should look like after you've installed our weld-in notch. All right, so let's first show you some updates on the front cross member that we did. So we pretty much redesigned the whole thing. I mean, parts of it look similar, but we totally redesigned the inner plate. Basically, it comes up further forward now, and it has the integrated sway bar mount on the front. So because it got significantly larger, it was starting to get kind of heavy. So we windowed this out for a couple of reasons, here, here, and here, to reduce weight. And if you decide to weld this into your car, this is where you would weld around the inner edge, and around the inner edge, and around the inner edge. We've also got the threaded holes in here established for the bolt-on outer spring pockets. These are for the control arms here. We notched the sides here so the control arms have better clearance. If you're looking at the bottom, we modified this plate going forward so it connects all the way around the notch now, and then it curves and extends all the way back to this rear rear control arm bracket. So that'll all get welded right there. And then we added a tab and a slot from this part to this part so that there's no way those can get out of alignment during when we jig them and weld them. And so that part got tweaked a little bit. We also thinned this out a little bit on the top side so that we have a little bit more oil pan clearance. Mainly just because it was getting too tight for the gaskets, and if you have a windage tray and everything, it adds some thickness. So we added about another 1/4 inch of height on the top. Let's see, then on the bottom, we edited the bottom so that we can put nuts on the back of the rack bolts. I felt like, you know, these were tapped on the mock-up one that we did, and probably would be strong enough as long as they didn't come loose. But just as a safety, if we can thread a longer bolt in there and put a jam nut on the back, it'll be way better. Bulletproof. So we did that. Let's see, we notched this main front plate a little bit more for better power steering line clearance. And then we notched this section up here a little bit more for the same reason. But it's all tabbed and slotted, you know, everything puzzles together. Haven't decided yet if we're gonna offer this as a you weld it kit, or if it's just the only option is gonna be we weld it and you bolt it in. If you wanna weld it into your car, I guess you could order it raw, or we could send it to you powder coated. We're still kind of working that out. So we did add one extra hole in the back, and that will require the original unibody having another nut installed into the structure. And that just gives it a little bit better stability front and back. So that's all for the front.